Tuesday, November 26, 2024. Talk really quick about the market, some names I'm looking at, go from there. Take a look at the futures. In the green this morning, if you looked overnight, actually yesterday evening, and then overnight, you would think we are going to have a rough session. Instead, things reversed. At the What time did we start to really reverse? About 8 o'clock was the lows. We hit 594 and change on the SPY, and then it's been kind of a melt up ever since. So we'll see. I again, just like the last couple sessions last week, I thought it was yesterday's session was almost just like what the doctor ordered. A nice tight range, trade between 595 and 600 on the SPY. Some more consolidation, and then I think we're going to get a blue sky breakout at some point, at least up to 610. Uh, Earnings after the close today, I don't know if that's going to do much. We do have Dell, Workday, Autodesk, um, CrowdStrike. And then tomorrow morning, we have the PCE data. I don't think that's going to move markets too much. And then we have Fed minutes at 2 o'clock. And then we have the holiday. So Thanksgiving markets closed. Half session on Friday. So the big spots, and I said it last week as well. Well, on the watch list this morning and on Friday, 595 and 600 look like the key chopping spots. Don't want to see 595 break for any extended period of time. Provide some support and even some consolidation today, I think will bode well. And the outperformance in the small caps, up 1.5% yesterday. That's on the heels of almost a 4.5% gain last week. So pretty much over the last 6 sessions, the small cap index is up 6%. And I think that's great, especially heading into the end of the year. I would love to see small caps actually be the best performing sector. So that's overall in regards to IWM. It's over 240 here in the yesterday closed over 240. Just want to see that hold for now, and maybe that's the new base for the next leg. And then last but not least, you take a look at yields, and who knows if it's a new Treasury Secretary nomination, what have you, but yields got destroyed yesterday, which I think bodes well. I prefer to see a slower melt, but a big move down on the 10-year. Hopefully some continuation here into this week. I think that'll bode well as well for markets into the end of the year. That's overall markets. Individual names, Lemonade, at some point I'm going to have to stop talking about because I won't have a position, but I did lock the last of my November strikes in for close to 1,000%. It rallied at the open, so it held its ground at the open and then spiked all the way up to nearly 54 and then pulled back, chopped around for pretty much the rest of the day before closing at 51. Impressive considering it's nearly 50% move last week. You still have a huge contingent of people who think the stock is worthless, right? Including, I was talking about it yesterday, Jim Chanos, however you pronounce his name. There's other folks who are bearish the name. Because the insurance sector is a very hard sector to put a valuation on. And because of that, it's also a very easy sector to create a bear piece on, right? Scare people into either not owning the stock or shorting it, right? So at some point, I'll pull the ripcord. I put on the watch list yesterday and today. I'm probably 46, 47 if it breaks down to that point. Because I'm not saying it can't go to $60. I think that's a reasonable target. But if there is some selling and there is it did it last week. It was able to find some buyers and held up. If one of these times when it does pull, it won't, and then it might accelerate and might have like a 10% down day. Don't want to see that happen and erode some of my profits. So I'll probably use that handle as a stop. What a monster Lemonade has been. Speaking of monsters, Teladoc up 13% yesterday. They had news in the morning, AI news. I don't even know if, in my opinion, was the true catalyst for the huge move. I thought it was going to move regardless. This is a story. You start looking at the possible tailwinds with the new administration, efficiencies. Then you also you have the company, which has pretty much been. I mean, it's down like 92% since COVID. Doesn't mean that it's going to rally 92%. Well, it's more than 92%. Have to rally a couple thousand%. But I do think there's an opportunity. It's been way oversold. It trades less than one. Well, now actually the market cap's a little higher, so maybe it trades 1x revenues. They put it on their last earnings report that they're guiding for mid zero to low percent gain revenue growth, which will be the first time in a while. And they also have an investor day. I think it's December 12th. And then you start looking, it has 16% short interest. Zoom reports this week. Yeah, I forgot. Zoom's getting upgrades. Not saying that Zoom and Teladoc have the same parallels, but people look at Zoom and think that's going to go the way of the dinosaur because they're trying to get people back in the office. But I think Zoom still serves a purpose. But anyway, sidebar there. But real like Teladoc, I think it heads over $15. I was talking about that 200-day moving average of 1105 being a key spot. Hasn't really traded above that since 2021. So anyway, not saying this is the best growth story. Great it is a great company, I think, and obviously it's does substantial revenues. But I think there's a huge opportunity here, and I think it trades over 15 bucks. And the other thing was like a slow melt to the upside yesterday. I would say slow melt, but it seemed like very well bid. So I think that bodes well for more highs. That's Teledoc. So I was able to lock some of those Teledoc December 1250s. Uh, I think they're close to 300%. And then the January 15s, I was able to close for 100%. The premiums, they were slow in the morning, and then they finally caught up as it broke over 12. I'll just continue to hold those and harvest. That's my new term this towards the end of the year, in tribute, I guess, to Thanksgiving. We'll do some harvest, but I'll continue to harvest calls. I probably won't add anything more until now. I think I start looking. I'm like, maybe it goes to 20 bucks into 2025. It's a possibility. And now on to Joby, another monster move for a name yesterday, up another 15% yesterday. If you had told me it would trade over 8 bucks, I would say, oh, into December. Well, I mean, December is next week. Um, Able to close some more of my strikes out for over 400% or 400%. And then I went and got some January strikes. And in a matter of a couple hours, I was able to close some of those in for 100%. So now I'm riding free with lots of profits. Um, at some point, it's going to pull. It's pulling here in the pre-market. It closed at 820. Another name has people who think it's a zero. It's never going to get off the ground. It's going to be zero. It costs money to create these vehicles, these electric helicopters, I guess you could call them. Uh, they're never going to get approved. So there's a lot of possible headwinds and headwinds that could make it, yeah, maybe it never is a success. But I think its partnerships, its position, the 2025 is going to be a big year for approvals, things like that. I think it heads much higher, and I think it heads over 10 bucks into 2025. But it's going to be volatile. So we'll see what happens here today. If it does show some breakdown, I mean, I had the 750, 760 areas as support. It's right there now. So hopefully that holds. And then it can work its way back up. But another name was up going at points yesterday, was up like 50 something percent over the course of the last 5 sessions. So at some point it's going to have a pull. And the 50% is that there hasn't really been a huge catalyst. Not like, I mean, Toyota, it's funny. Yesterday, someone else mentioned it, but the news on one of my feeds, it says $500 million lift. Joby gets Toyota's $500 million lift, but that was old news. And not only that, it's not 500 million, it's going to be $1 billion. This is just one half of it. So just funny how they're just trying to rationalize moves. So that's, I mean, take it both ways. I think it's good that it ran regardless of a news event. So nearly up 50% just because of possible tailwinds from new administration, less regulatory issues, things like that. All right. So that's Joby. And then you take a look at a longer term view, and I think 962 is the next big resistance. I mean, I hope it happens shortly, but once we get there, that'll be a big spot. That's Joby. Not much here to mention on Peloton. It was actually over $10 when I was doing my rant yesterday, and then the market opened. It didn't open over 10, and then it couldn't get over that threshold, and then it closed pretty much flat. I'll continue to be patient here with my January strikes. Probably some more consolidation before the next leg. But once it breaks 110, I think it's off to the races. I can see this trading 15 plus in 2025. Some new names. And first I talked about Intuit, but I'll talk about Pool really quick. And Pool was one of my favorite stocks over the years. I've traded off and on, not recently. A great story. So they have their a customer base and install base, right? So they install the pools, and then they also do maintenance. And there's a lot of other things that go in with this company. But COVID was one of the times where it really came to my attention because people are trying to build vacations in their backyard, right? What a better company. Trex, another one of those names that saw COVID boom because people were making their resort ready backyards. Uh, Berkshire Hathaway actually posted their holding filing. They got to do that every 3 months, and they added Pool, which surprising. It wasn't like this. I mean, the stock gets sold off in the summer, but it's some of it obviously it's a seasonal business, right? But to see it's some disappointment there. So it traded all the way down to 200 back in the summer. It has since recouped most of that. And then you start looking, I'm like, this looks like it's going to break 52-week high. So it rallied nice yesterday. I don't want to be chasing it. So we'll see how it plays out today. But I might get some calls to play for a move to 420 plus in the coming weeks. Really like that story. Square, not much here to say about Square. I put this on the watch list too. It's either consolidating for the next leg, or the top was in at 94, and maybe got the Josh Brown CNBC jinx, I guess you could call it. But you do have RBC Capital raising their price target to 110 from 88 this morning. They have already had a buy rating, so it doesn't do much in regards to its rating. I still think at some point it's going to get some FOMO, but at the same token, we'll have to see. Hopefully it holds up here. 90.75 it closed out, so it wasn't even down too much yesterday. You had some of these other names in the crypto space selling off, but if you can find some footing in reverse, still like this one for upside. 94 is the big spot. Here's Intuit, and I was talking about this. Right at his 50 and 200-day moving average, 632 and 634. So if it breaks that, even if I don't know much about the story, you look at the chart and I'm like, wow, this could really start to pull. Maybe breaks under 600. So especially if the market finds some selling, I don't know if it's if it does happen, even without selling, it probably is still an opportunity for some downside. So don't be surprised if I add some put hedges on that one. And then last but not least, Unity. It's been so volatile. And so yesterday was gapping, it was like 24.50. Stock opens at 24.56. Meanwhile, I think it closed 23.85 on Friday. Ran up, almost tested 25 before pulling back and closing at $24. So I used that move to close more of my January strikes for nearly 300%. I was going to look for more higher strikes, but I'll probably be patient because it's similar. It's another name. I mean, the stock was 17.50 6 sessions ago, right? So you're talking another one that has gained 40-50%. I mean, up at $25 is more than that over the course of only a short period of time. Not really in much of catalyst because it reported earnings, and that's some of the reason why the stock sold off, which despite good earnings. So I'll be patient here, but I'll continue to hold my January strikes, and I think you could trade up into the 30s in the first couple weeks of 2025. And that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.